Hello? My name is Alexander. I live in Ukraine, 16 miles from the front line, and I will tell you about the main military news from Ukraine for January 14th. Russia is preparing airborne assault brigades to land in the rear of Ukrainian defense lines ISW. These are likely to be helicopter landings for rapid deployment of personnel, as was the case during the initial battles for the Gostomel airport near Kiev on February 24, 2022. They will be used as another means of conducting exhausting infantry-led frontal attacks on Ukrainian fortified positions in the short term. Russia should be involved in negotiations with Ukraine's Swiss foreign minister. But we will not wait until Russia wants to talk. Thousands of peaceful Ukrainian lives are at stake. This is the task of creating an alliance of states to push a peace plan. To be clear, the Allies want to push the peace plan on terms favorable to Ukraine. That is why special attention is being paid to this meeting. Withdrawal of Russian troops. Restoration of justice. Environmental safety. Preventing escalation and recurrence of the war. Confirmation of the end of the war. A just and sustainable peace is what Ukraine and the members of the platform are striving for. Ukraine will not be defeated as it has strong support from partners Welt. Ukraine will still receive a lot of equipment from its partners. 200 Leopard 2 tanks were promised, but only 30 have been delivered so far. Assistance to Ukraine increased sharply to €15 billion in November and December. The US has shipped $1 billion worth of weapons in the last 2 months. The EU countries are increasing the supply of weapons and financial resources to Ukraine. Germany is preparing for an armed conflict against Russia. Bild. Important, this is a training scenario from a secret document, which describes step by step, month by month, how Putin will act and how NATO will have to defend itself. The main point. Russia launches a wave of mobilization and calls for another 200,000 people to join the army in February 2024. In the spring, the Kremlin will launch a large-scale offensive in Ukraine and defeat the Ukrainian Armed Forces by June 2024. Further, Russia provokes aggression against ethnic Russian minorities in the Baltics. Clashes break out and Russia conducts a large-scale exercise called West 2024. Involving 50,000 soldiers. In December, after the US elections, a border conflict and unrest may begin in Kaliningrad. In January 2025, Poland and the Baltic states will convene a meeting of the NATO Council and declare the growing threat from the Russian Federation, which will deploy additional troops to Belarus and the Baltic borders in March. In May 2025, NATO will decide on credible deterrence measures to prevent Russia from attacking the Suwalki corridor from both sides, Belarus and Kaliningrad. On Day X, NATO's Commander-in-Chief orders the deployment of 300,000 soldiers, including 30,000 Bundeswehr troops, to the eastern flank. Ukrainian Armed Forces shot down 2 Russian planes over the Sea of Azov, Mysyagin. It happened an hour and a half ago. The A-50 was shot down, and the IL-22 was shot down, but it was still in the air and trying to get to the nearest airfield, but disappeared from the radar after it started descending near Kerch. Russia has only 3 A-50 units and 6 A-50 units in service. The price is $330 million per unit. A year ago, 1 A-50 was already damaged in a UAV attack on Mochilishi airbase near Minsk. The planes are crucial to attacks because they provide coordination with fighters and create a picture of the air battle. Shmygal hints that targets were hit by Ukrainian air defense units. Su-30SM, which flew with them, saw the targets hit and is in contact. Ukraine will help Britain if it is attacked by Russia. Shmygal. According to the treaty, not only the British should help Ukraine. In case of military aggression against the United Kingdom, Ukraine must be able to come to its own aid. Fedorov urged Ukrainians to create FPV drones at home. All within the framework of the project. People's Drone. Everyone can get free access to lectures, list of components and materials, ask questions to instructors. After assembly, the drone is checked, and if everything is good, it is sent to the front. Thus, our fighters managed to hand over 100 UAVs. Of these, 80% passed the inspection. There will be more drones. We are preparing another good news on air defense. We remember about missiles, about REB there will be more Zelensky. Russia has lost 90% of the tanks it had during the invasion of Ukraine. Forbes. According to the publication, when Russia attacked Ukraine, it had 2,987 tanks. At least 2,916 of them are already out of commission. This includes 1,735 destroyed, 205 abandoned and 544 captured tanks of the T-55, T-62, T-72, T-80 and T-90 models. In 2 years, Russia has been able to build or repair only 780 tanks, analysts say. If this is true, the Russian armed forces have been reduced to 1,180 tanks. Look at these photos, and that's just near Avdiivka. The equipment that destroyed Ukraine. Russian missiles are getting worse. Ignat on the work of anti-Russian sanctions. Russian missiles are not what they were yesterday. Perhaps the sanctions are having an impact. They are of worse quality. The information is not 100%, but there are certain aspects that point to this, the Air Force spokesman said. He also emphasized the effective work of the electronic warfare system, which allowed to increase the number of missiles that did not reach their targets. The Tor, SAM and a rather rare Russian Tu-S-34 Hosta self-propelled artillery system were damaged. Russian terrorists continue to actively carry out airstrikes. Yesterday 34. They are dropping guided bombs. Most of them were in Donetsk region. Several instances of using Ka-52 helicopters and Su-25 attack aircraft were also recorded. The enemy conducted 43 combat engagements and fired 914 artillery shells. They are concentrating their efforts in the areas of Avdiivka and Novomykhailivka. Total enemy losses in manpower amounted to 437 people and 60 pieces of military equipment. In particular, 1 tank, 11 armored personnel carriers, 10 artillery systems, 1 air defense system, 27 UAVs, 9 vehicles, 1 unit of special equipment. 1 enemy ammunition depot was destroyed. That was all the main military news from Ukraine. Thank you for watching this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with the latest military news from Ukraine. Goodbye.